Hi, welcome back everyone to today's video where we are going to be talking about how to shake the dust off your feet and what it means to walk away, what it looks like to walk away, when to walk away, all that good stuff. So this might be relatable to you or someone that you know. Either way, I hope you find it helpful somehow. If you clicked on this, you might be able to relate to that idea of shaking the dust off your feet and walking away, whether you've been able to do it or you haven't been able to do it yet. This video will hopefully give you a little bit more insight into why it's important to know when it's time to walk away, when it's time to shake that dust off your feet. And the best part is it's actually biblical. So we're going to go into that a little bit more. Stick around. I hope you find something helpful or beneficial about today's message, or that you're able to share your own message down below in the comments, which could help someone else, or it could help me, it could help us all in this community as we seek to learn and grow together. All right, let's go. So as I was saying, my last video, I feel like this is an ongoing theme right now. And so I'm just going to go with it because it's sticking out for a reason. But there seems to be this idea about love out there, particularly in modern Christianity. Not all Christianity, but I think some of the watered down Christianity, the lovey-dovey, romanticized version of Christianity, that pushes this idea that we're supposed to put up with way more than any other group of people, that as a believer, you are supposed to remain in the most uncomfortable situations, the most hurtful, disrespectful situations. You're supposed to somehow suffer and sacrifice all your self-peace, all the peace and self-worth that you have. You're supposed to just sacrifice that for the sake of being a good Christian. I mean, all these things out there, I don't know where they came from. I don't know who pushed them. I don't know how they became so prominent. But I feel like the more I talk to Christians around me, there's very much this belief that, oh, well, I'm going to do the Christian thing and just keep trying with that person and eventually they'll see the light. Eventually they'll see the way because that's what I'm called to do as a Christian. I'm just going to show them all these things. I don't know where that's coming from. But today I'm here to tell you that it's important to read your word, because the more I'm reading my word, the more I'm being set free. I'm being set free from these chains of ignorance, I guess, or chains of misinformation, because really it's been at my disposal all along, but because I haven't been reading and I've been putting that responsibility on other people for me to interpret, chew up the food, digest the food, do everything for me, and just kind of give me this watered down, easy to digest version of the word, I've lost a lot of the truth behind it. So I was reading Mark chapter 6, and it was talking about Jesus going to his hometown and basically being second guessed and not being received well as he should have, right? Going to his own hometown. The people in his own hometown were doubting him and were getting offended by his miracles and his all his healing and teaching. And it talked about how he essentially called them out on it by saying a prophet is not without honor except in his own hometown. And how he went about his way, continuing to the other villages teaching. He didn't stick around and try to debate with them and convince them to like him, to believe in him, to do the right thing. No, he was the right thing. He acted accordingly to what he knew, to the truth, to his purpose. And then he went on about his way. And then later on in the chapter, when he's instructing his disciples and sending them out 2 by 2, giving them authority to cast out, spirits and to heal and all these things, part of his instructions to them are in verse 11, and it says, "And if any place will not welcome you or listen to you, leave that place and shake the dust off your feet as a testimony against them." And that's just so liberating to hear, because how many times do people quote this from Jesus? How many times do we hear that? Like, oh, well, the Christian thing to do is to shake the dust off your feet. The Christian thing to do is to leave that place that does not welcome you and shake the dust off your feet. No one quotes that. I never hear people giving that kind of advice. It's always like, oh, well, the Christian thing to do, is to stay when everyone else leaves. When everyone else turns their back, you need to be the one to stay. When everyone else cuts them off, you need to be the one that's by their side. When no one else answers the phone, or will let them borrow money, or will let them fill in the blank. When nobody else wants to, we're called to do what no one else will. Like, it's always like these extremes of, hang around longer than you should, be with people that, don't really, be around people that really aren't the best for you. It's always like these extremes. And that isn't really biblical. Now, I encourage anyone who's listening to please put some verses down below in the comments if there are verses that tell us to be the last one standing, with these people that refuse, reject, turn down, turn away others that seek to help them, that seek to bring healing and goodness into their life, that offer them truth, that as Christians we're supposed to be the last resort and be the ones that don't walk away. Leave some verses down. This is all about growing and learning, but really the more I read, the less biblical that is. It sounds like, and this is what I'm getting from it, I feel like Jesus is letting them know a fundamental truth here about self-love and self-respect and knowing your worth, knowing your purpose, understanding whose you are, and the preciousness and value of the gifts, skills, talents that you have and the purpose that you have on this earth, and to not waste that on people that do not want to appreciate or recognize it, to not waste your time or your gifts on people that don't believe in them, who don't believe that they need the help, that don't want to do better, to be healed, to be better. If you get rejected, it sounds like Jesus is letting them know, leave that place. It's okay. He's not telling them, if not, he would have said, if people do not welcome you and people do not listen to you, which is what he said at the beginning of that verse, he would have said, if people don't listen and people don't welcome you, make sure you come right back the next day over and over and over again, and you stay right there until they let you in, until their hearts turn from being cold, and until you just soften up their hearts with your persistence. And, if people don't listen to you, even though everybody else has left already, you make sure to be the one that's there. That's not what he said. And if that was what he wanted to leave them with, he would have told them that, but he didn't. So it makes me think, he said what he said, and he said what he said for a reason. And I feel like we don't want to believe that, or we don't want to listen to that, or that's not what's getting told to us. And I think it's causing people to put themselves in a lot of uncomfortable situations, and it's causing people to stick around longer than they need to, and potentially expose themselves to being taken advantage of, expose themselves to abuse, expose themselves to mistreatment because they think somehow that's what they're called to do. That's what they're supposed to do. You might already know this deep down inside. It makes sense, but it might be hard to think about. It might be hard to even recognize because it's just so deeply ingrained in you that, oh my goodness, like I need to be the hero, right? And what does it mean to be the hero? I need to be the good person. I need to be the Christian in this scenario. And what does that look like? Typically, when you envision being the quote unquote Christian in the scenario or being the good person in that scenario, it always consists of you getting the raw end of the deal, right? You somehow putting up with things that no one else wants to put up with, or you tolerating things that no one else tolerated, because that's what makes you special. That's what makes you different. That's what makes a Christian different and a Christian special is the fact that they're willing to go where no man has gone before. You know, it's like all these things, but we have a lot of real practical advice here being given by God himself, telling his disciples, if they don't want to listen and they don't want to welcome you, right? Don't waste your peace there. Leave that place. Shake the dust off your feet. Like, don't linger. Don't force it. Don't push it. There's no need to. There's so many people in this world that need healing and that would appreciate, just like there's many examples in the Bible of the people that appreciated what Jesus had to offer. Well, not even to offer, because that's a whole nother video. Now, don't get me started, because it's not about just what he had to offer. But there are people who recognize their need, their own need, that they were sick, that they needed healing, that there had to be a better way, that they couldn't live like that anymore. There were people that recognized it first and foremost. So they were not just welcoming to Jesus, but they were so open and ecstatic and appreciative, and Jesus was able to heal and bless those people because they were open to it. They weren't fighting it back. They weren't putting it down. They weren't insulting it and denying it and questioning it. And they were hungry for it, and they were thankful for it. And so Jesus was able to act on that gratitude and on that sense of that desire to heal or to want more in their life, to know and to understand. He could feel that, right? The desire to know, to understand more, to get it. And the people that didn't want to get it, he didn't sit there outside their door for days on end. He had a purpose and he knew his worth. So this is just a reminder. Some of you just may need a little refresher, or some of you may not be this may be a completely foreign notion to you, that somehow you're not supposed to endure so much discomfort. But please don't take it from me. Go to your word, read it tonight, go to chapter 6, go to Mark chapter 6, read at least verse 1 through 13, see what you get out of that, see how that speaks to you. But again, it's so important that we read for ourselves, because if not, we will end up putting ourselves through things that biblically Jesus didn't put himself through, right? And so hope this was helpful for someone. I'll talk to you soon.